Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our public hearing tonight for the Fairport Public Library budget and the Fairport Central School District budget for the year 2023-2024. I'm Peter Forsgren, standing in right now as for Vice President for Erica Bellis-Pacer, who will be here shortly, but we will hand it off shortly. We're grateful to present the budget, though. It's been through a process starting last October or so, and the priorities that were set both through reaching out to the community, talking with our students and teachers, and think we have an exciting budget that represents the priorities of the community, represents the needs of the students, and able to move us forward in a very strong way. So with that, I'm going to hand it off. Is it to the library first, to our Mr. Provenzano?
To the library. Carl Gouveia from the Fairport Public Library is going to present the budget for the library, and I know that's a community service that people take advantage of, and we're proud and happy to partner with you.
Perfect. Thank you, Superintendent.
Just to jump in real quick, if anybody wishes to comment, there's a sign-in sheet over on the table to our right-hand side as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Just want to first thank the school board and the school district for giving the library an opportunity to present the budget at this event. So I'm going to start off with the ongoing and new challenges the library has been facing over the course of the year and what we predict will continue to face over next year. As everyone knows, there are inflation, supply chain issues affecting people and businesses. These inflationary pressures and vendors with staff shortages and supply chain issues make it sometimes very difficult to run a facility. You know, we often call repair men to come in, look at our facility, and you know, sometimes they don't get back to us with quotes, or the quotes come back and it's much higher than what we expect. We were renovated. The library was renovated now going about 8 years ago. So we're starting to see some issues here and there across the facility. So those inflationary pressures and issues with trying to get vendors in has been difficult. Another challenge that I've been facing is that Governor Hochul has proposed to cut library aid in her executive governor's budget. This was something we saw year after year with Governor Cuomo. Last year, Governor Hochul did not propose a cut to library aid, which was great, and we were able to see significant gains in library aid. But you know, she, in her executive budget for this year, she proposed a cut to library aid, and then what it becomes is a struggle trying to get those cuts not only enacted or removed, but also trying to see any sort of increase or gain in library aid. Unfortunately, the New York State library aid has been under ed law formula since 2008, when it was cut after the housing bubble, and it has never recovered from that cut. Those cuts mainly impact the Monroe County Library System. That impacts us because they end up increasing our cost shares, how much the Fairport Public Library pays to the library system. And then they inevitably also need to cut or dilute the level of service that they're providing Fairport. The one silver lining here is that last year they were able to increase the library aid significantly, not to ed law formula, but we saw a significant increase, and we're hopeful that our representatives will be able to negotiate at least the 2022 level. Of course, we're seeing minimum wage increases continue. When we developed this budget, we were projecting that it would hit $15 an hour at the end of the year. And I just read a news article where part of their New York State budget negotiations, they are looking at increasing minimum wage to $15 an hour. So when we developed this budget, that was one thing we had an eye on, that halfway through our fiscal year, we would see minimum wage at 15. There's also, of course, the state mandated retirement contribution, healthcare costs, technology costs, all of those we're seeing increase, and a lot of it due to vendors with staffing shortages. So this is our proposed budget for next fiscal. I'm not going to read it line by line, but you can see the breakdown of the various categories: salaries, benefits, library materials, occupancy costs, which are telephone, utilities, custodial supplies, building maintenance, rent, insurance, and building contract. And rent is part of it, where we're located in the Fairport Village Landing Mall. That is a space that we rent from FDP Management. You can also see equipment, which runs the gamut from our computers to our copiers. And then you'll see the Monroe County Library System cost shares, professional fees, lawyer fees are included in there, background check for library employees. And lastly, you have all other, which includes office supplies, AV supplies, postage freight, programming, professional education, all of that. On that bottom line, you can see the total for next year's budget is 3.2 million, almost 3.3, less the revenue sources. That's the money coming in from fines, fees, membership fees. That would be about 128,000. We're going to appropriate from the fund balance almost $500,000. So we're looking at a proposed tax levy of $2.7 million. That is a $52,000 increase over the levy we had last year, which was about $2.6 million. And this is the historical budgeted expenditures. This is on the expenditure side. You can see we've been able for, from about 2019 to 2022 to keep it smaller increases on our expenditure side. Unfortunately, with the inflation and everything else that all of us have been dealing with personally as well, we're seeing an increase to our level of costs. So this goes to show you just what the personnel expenses will be for the next year as compared to this year. And you can see where our professional line is. That would be librarians, library director, clerical line, pages, custodial, and our aides, for a total of almost 1.7 million. With benefits at about 700,000, you're looking at about 2.4 across our personnel expenses. Of course, we're a service agency. We provide a lot of services to the community, so naturally personnel is our greatest expenditure. And this is the breakdown for benefits. You've got New York State Retirement, health insurance, FICA, and then all other benefits as well. And all other, some of the stuff that are in, you'll find in there is such as our EAP and things along those lines. So here's our non-tax revenue sources. We have we're projecting roughly about 46,000 coming in for fines, fees, printing. Pilot, which is payment in lieu of taxes, we're estimating about 20,000. State aid, we're hoping there'll be an increase. We'll see, but we had projected it to be about 12,000. Interest income, we used to have that at 1,000. We're looking at how we invest our funds. So we're hoping to see a realized investment of return on investment of about 50,000. Subtotal, there's 128,000 across the revenue line, and then appropriating out of our fund balance 458,000. All right, and then this slide here is the property tax levy cap. You can see going down here, I know a lot of times people are confused. They think it's always 2%. It's not necessarily. There's a lot of calculations that are involved. But if you go down the line, you can see that the tax levy limit is 2.7 million, which is about 2.47%. Now, if you don't use your entire limit from the previous year. The state allows you to carry over a certain amount of that limit. So we've got a carryover of 41,000. Last year and the year before, we kept our tax levy flat. So we have the ability of accessing even more carryover the last couple of years. So that ultimately is an adjusted tax levy limit of $2.7 million, just a little bit over 4%. As the committee discussed and talked about these numbers, we decided just to go with a 2% increase, and that's just under 2.7 million. So the actual increase is going to be almost $53,000. What we could have increased by is 106,000. So less than half of what we would be able to normally increase. On this slideshow, you can see the fund balance, and this is just where we have the fund balance allocated. And then we get into the